Okay, on this Retina IIIc, I noticed that there were little bumps and lumps in the leatherette. Now, that signifies corrosion underneath the leatherette. I've already lifted off the leatherette on this side. That came off fairly well. This is something I don't like doing. The front panels on the 3C are hard to get off in one piece, and it's usually only something I'll tackle if I have reason to believe that they're loose, and if they need to be lifted to get corrosion and other lumps and bumps out. Excuse me. Bumps that you get in the leatherette, I don't know if you can see that. They're usually referred to as Zeiss bumps, and they're formed by corrosion products, and generally in a case like this it'll be because the nickel plated brass rivets holding things together have set up a corrosion between them and the aluminium pressing in the case of the back door, or casting in the case of the body. And of course moisture is what they need to start that process off. And it doesn't hurt at all if they have a little bit of salt to help them along. Along this line here there are 3 bumps. Those 3 bumps will align with the screw heads there, and I want to see if I can get that leatherette peeled off without cracking it, so that I can deal with those lumps of rubbish and then glue the leatherettes back cleanly again. This is quite a fraught process. Now what I'm really doing here is levering the leatherette away, peeling it, you might say. And particularly in an area here like where it's the leatherette's tucked in against that hinge, it's quite well stuck there, and the rollover of the hinge is helping to hold that edge down too, so it doesn't really want to peel off. And I think I've got that underway. This leatherette's in fairly good condition apart from its minor Zeiss bump infestation. It's not all dried out and brittle. I can see the makings of a crack right at this point, so I suspect the leatherette's already cracked there, or is halfway to it. Yeah, most definitely. That point is along that edge, that rounded edge is causes the most problem, because with the leatherette neatly bound on both sides, on both faces of that corner, it means it's very stiff at that point, and so the likelihood of it cracking is fairly high. Now, I've run into a stiff point there. It's not unusual for adhesive to vary quite a bit across the surface and how well it's doing its job, which would be down to a number of factors, including how clean the surfaces were before the adhesive was applied, how thickly or how evenly the adhesive was applied, and what ill effects the leatherettes have suffered over the years. Right, so that's off. You can possibly see little patches of rubbish here. Now they're That's corrosion products from that aluminium body. They're probably one or another of the aluminium salts. This sort of problem is more common when you've got real leather rather than leatherettes, because real leather always contains a fair degree of chemicals from the tanning process, and they will certainly promote corrosion, especially if they've got damp at any stage. This is usually a sign that the camera has been stored somewhere damp or in a humid environment, or possibly was just left in its leather case after the owner was caught out in the rain and nothing ever really dried out quickly enough. Right, well that's quite good. Those surfaces I'll need to clean up and get better. The leatherettes, well, I'll have to scrape the back of those to make sure those deposits are gone. When I glue it back, I will hope to press out little lumps and bumps like that. They're very minor ones, they won't cause me any problem. On this particular camera, there is one bump right here on the back, but I'm not going to strip that entire back to get to that. Or perhaps I might. I can see more bumps along here. That's an exercise for another day. Well, I decided I would strip the leatherette off the back of that camera. I've since cleaned it up, removed all the old adhesive, corrosion products and so forth from the casting. So those leatherettes are cleaned up now too. I've removed all the rubbish from those. They're ready to be coated with adhesive and put back on. So that little task is out of the way. And I'm further down the track. Right, well I cleaned off the casting, the body casting, the camera back and the leatherettes from the camera. I've installed a top and bottom chrome trim, some rough ones from my parts bins, to help me align the leatherettes while they're gluing. And I'm about to glue the leatherettes back, so I'll show you how that's done. This is the adhesive I use. It's probably only available here, possibly across the Tasman, called ADOS F2 contact adhesive, multi-purpose, and it suits this job right down to the ground. You have to be careful with your adhesives. They are prone to, if they have the wrong solvents in them, they will melt the leatherettes. And if the leatherettes melt, they turn to a gooey mess and they will never go back on neatly, and they'll be ruined. So it's worth testing just a little dot to find out what it's like. If the leatherette appears to soften, it's not the thing for you. So what I'm doing here is I'm spreading that adhesive out, making sure that all the edges are covered. This adhesive is designed as a contact adhesive. In a contact adhesive like this, you would apply it to both surfaces. You would leave it until it dried till it was tacky, and then you would press the two components together, and whereupon they would stick like the proverbial. But that's not how I use this. I just put it on one surface on the leatherette. Put the leatherette in place and press it down neatly. Leatherettes often shrink. They shrink back over time. They'll dry out and shrink back. And so when you're trying to fit them to somewhere like that, where they fit neatly between two chrome trims or between edges, you have to centre them up so that if you're left with a gap, at least it's even on both sides. That's good. I'm just rubbing that in with my thumbnail there to make sure that's tucked in right down that seam by the hinge. So the adhesive was still wet when it went on, but it wasn't great puddles of it. You don't want so much on there that it'll run into things and cause them to glue up later. So that's the first piece. Now for the second piece, and it's the same procedure again. With smaller pieces of leatherette, like the leatherette disc on the advanced shaft, on the advanced lever, you can put the adhesive, put it on a piece of paper and then transfer it to the leatherette with a toothpick. Here I'm just making sure this goes all the way to the edges. Try not to get this on the face side of the leatherette if you can. It's usually it depends on the adhesive, of course. Sometimes it's hard to get off. Alright. If you lift the leatherettes off the front face of a retina, take note of this. That grip is that embossed line is to the top of the camera. And if you replace the leatherette on the back of the retina, make sure that it's the right way up. There's nothing more disconcerting than seeing a camera with retina or retinette on the back of it upside down, like the lid on the laptop. Okay. That looks good. That's exactly what I want. Now we've got to do the back. The back is more of a challenge because trying to get the adhesive on there without it all drying out from one end of the one end of the leatherette to the other is always a bit more challenging. Let's get that off there. I've got a piece of paper stuck on the back of that. We can do without that. We don't want to introduce any lumps and bumps. We're trying to get rid of them. So usually I'll apply the adhesive to half the leatherette at a time. They give me time to work with it. If you're generous with the first half, that's all well and good. You can just push that extra and unneeded adhesive down the leatherette towards the other end. Right, I can feel that starting to go off and it doesn't want to be moved anymore. So I'll put some fresh lot on this end of the leatherette. If you get any on your fingers want to stick to it very, very effectively. Alright, it's quite warm here today. The adhesive is curing very quickly. And that's where it lifted off a bit. That's looking good. Making sure it says retina at the top of the camera. Oh, it's the right way up rather. Don't want that upside down. I'll tuck those edges in. Now the leatherette, where those bumps were, the leatherette stretched there, where that salt formed underneath from the corrosion of the aluminium. That's formed bumps. It stretched the leatherette out. So it's not especially easy to unshrink leatherette, unstretch it. Once it's stretched, it wants to stay stretched. But you've got to manoeuvre this stuff around and do the best you can. in an extreme situation you may even have to trim a bit off the end of a long piece of leatherette like this so that it'll fit in place, and I think we'll cope here. I'm just running a bit of this tissue down there, this paper towel, just to rub off any excess glue on that edge and allow me to see the glued edge too, to make sure that the leatherette is down in the recess where it should be. And at the end, this is where it was bubbled up on the with corrosion from at the rivet points. That's all good. So that looks good. We had one high spot there, and whether that stays down or not is an unknown quantity. All we can do is hope for the best. Alright, that looks pretty good. I think that'll do me.